Everybody is speaking out about this as one of the Toronto Blue Jays' top prospects, Arjun Nimmala, has been taking the MLB by storm, and everybody has begun to speak out about the prospect, and a recent current MLB shortstop has spoken out and said some crazy things about the Jays prospects. We're going to break that down, discuss what it can mean going forward for the Toronto Blue Jays on this episode. But before we do, if you're a part of the 70 to 80% who aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 14,000 subscribers, and it would mean the world to Peter and myself if you could help us hit that goal. But let's just dive right into it. As we all know, the Toronto Blue Jays prospect pool isn't super great. It was really bad before the trade deadline, and Ross Atkins did do a good job by replenishing the system. Now we have a new top 100 prospect. We have a bunch of young guys we can build around. But first round pick Arjun Nimmala this year has been taking the minor leagues, quite frankly, by storm. And let's just dive right into it. So Francisco Lindor, one of the best players in baseball, one of the best shortstop in baseball, came out and spoke out about Arjun Nimmala in a bit of a surprising fashion. You can look at the Blue Jays top prospects, which we'll get into shortly here, but basically, Francisco Lindor was asked about Arjun Nimmala and what he sees him becoming in the future for the Toronto Blue Jays or in the MLB in general. And what he said was, I see him as becoming one of the faces of the franchises for sure. And basically, if you go into the whole interview and the whole thing, he basically just praises Arjun Nimmala and said he could be a very important player for the Jays going forward and that he's going to be a very good player. Now, Arjun Nimmala is a very interesting guy. We'll dive into his stats and dive into everything about him in a minute, but obviously, he was a first-round pick in 2023, and he was one of the guys that at the time of the draft was seen as someone who had a very high upside, but his floor could be a little bit low if he didn't pan out. And to start the year, it was a little bit scary, and he hadn't been able to tap into his power that is really needed for any MLB player, but he was showing a lack of power. And then suddenly, this season, the second half of the year, but even just throughout the year, he gained so much power. He's taken the prospect, the minor leagues by storm. His OPS is over 1,000. And let's dive into it a little bit more. Everybody is talking about this right now. Is literally an hour ago on the radio show hosted by Blake Murphy. A lot of different things here. So David Singh came out and said, to see these guys excelling, I think to me, that's the more important part. And he's discussing the Arjun Nimmala's recent rise of success. And the reason that this is getting so much attention around the Blue Jays and even just around the MLB is because of how good he's been as of late and because of really how fast he's excelled and turned into a guy who was struggling to start the year and was really a big question mark going forward for the Toronto Blue Jays, especially amidst all the Bichette rumors. We're talking about who our future of the franchise could be, who our future shortstop could be. Obviously, Leo Jimenez has came up this year and played a good bit and has done a really good job, but Arjun Nimmala has always been the guy that when drafted was going to be, in theory, Bichette's either replacement or kind of co-star with Bichette, depending on how things worked out. And we still don't know yet if Bichette's going to get traded or not, but he's completely shifted the perspective on him over this past season. So you can look at it now here. So you look at his stats in 2023, he finished with an OPS of 820. He only played 9 games, so he didn't get a lot of experience, and that was at 17 years old in the Florida Complex League in rookie ball. Now in 2024, you can look through his rookie ball in 8 games. He put up 1,000 OPS, and in Dunedin A, he's put up a 790 OPS. But here's the more important thing that we're going to be discussing here, and you look at the power numbers. He has put up 16 home runs in A ball, and in rookie ball, he put up 1 home run, but he had over 1,000 OPS in A ball. With the Dunedin, with their A-ball team, he put up a 790 OPS, which, again, isn't a super crazy OPS, but the fact that he's been able to tap into his power was the biggest question mark and was going to be his biggest limiter going forward. If he wasn't able to tap into that power, we saw guys way back like Austin Martin, who was one of the Blue Jays' top prospects. They drafted him at the time early in the first round, 4 or 5. And then they shipped him off and got José Berríos, which is a great trade because they saw the value in getting a guy, obviously, like José Berríos, who was going to be a perennial, 2 or 3 starter for the rest of the Blue Jays or for the rest of his career. But Austin Martin lacked the power tool. He did not show any power in the minor leagues, and that ultimately was what limited him to not being a top 100 prospect in baseball. Now he is playing for the Twins, doing a decent job, but Arjun Nimmala could have followed the same trajectory and not shown a lot of power, but he's come out and really tapped into the power tool, and that's the biggest thing. He's only 18 years old. He's going to improve his bat-to-ball skills. He's going to improve his eyes. He's going to improve all those things. So his on-base percentage is going to go up. His average is going to go up. Everything is going to go up. But power is something that's hard to teach. And putting up 16 home runs in 82 games, that's over a 30 home run clip over a full season in A-ball as an 18-year-old. And that's why everybody is so excited about him. That's why guys like Francisco Lindor have taken notice and have seen the fact that, hey, Arjun Nimmala is going to be a guy and a very important contributor for the Blue Jays going forward. And it's very exciting if you're a Jays fan to see that he's tapped into that power, because we discussed it at the start of the year when we were looking, or during the offseason last year before this season, when we were looking at the Jays prospects. Arjun Amala was slowly climbing up, but we didn't know exactly what he had to bring. And this season was going to be the biggest tell for Arjun Amala to see what he could do. And by hitting 16 home runs, and a lot of them happened in a very short period. He started off the season a little bit slow. He started off by not doing too well, especially in the power department, and then he's just taken the league by storm. You can see this tweet by MLB Pipeline. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bichette, and then Arjun Amala. The Blue Jays prospect has been impressive, and he's really impressed everybody. Obviously, he was our first rounder back in 2023, and to be in conversations with guys like Vladdy, Bichette, the two Blue Jays stars, at least in theory, is a very important thing for him. And again, I'll get into the top prospects in a minute. The Jays are starting to really round out their prospect pool, whether it's Trey Savage, who recently got promoted into the top 100, whether it's other guys, Jake Bloss, who's going to be promoted soon, Jonathan Clase, who they acquired at the trade deadline. There's so many different guys now that the Jays have to look forward to. But Arjun Amala is the one that the whole time most fans are speaking about it. Obviously, Peter and myself have been speaking about it. He's the one that could really come up and be one of the best prospects in baseball. And you look at his tools, his ETA is not for another 3 years in 2027, which does line up with some of their guys, especially if they lock down Vladimir Guerrero Jr. As Vladdy enters his prime in his 28, 29, into his 30-year-old season, Arjun Amala will hopefully be in the MLB and starting to really get his feet wet and start performing very, very well for the team. And you look at his grades, again, these are ranked on a grade from 20 to 80. His hit is 45, power 55, run 50, earn 55, field 50, which isn't super impressive, but you have to keep in mind that he's 18 years old and he's been tearing up. And this is going to be updated, I'm sure, at the end of the year into next season when if he continues this power, to switch that power grade from a 55, maybe even to a 60. And if he can reach a 60, 65 grade as an 18, 19-year-old and he continues to tap into that power, then, of course, the sky is the limit for him. And you look at the Jays' top prospects now, it's looking very, very good. So obviously Trey Savage, Elvis, who's on the brink of a return at some point. He is playing now for the AAA Bisons, but he could get called up to the Blue Jays depending on what they want to do and how they want to handle the suspension. But then you have Jake Bloss, another guy whose ETA is, this year. Same with Elvis, who already pitched for, I think, 3 starts for the Astros before he got traded, put up a 6.18 ERA. But then you have Ricky Tiedemann, who's out until 2026. And then Arjun Amala is the 5th-ranked prospect for the Blue Jays system. And I believe he is really starting to rise these rankings. He was 7, I think, the last update, but he's really starting to get up there. And he moved up to 5 in a prospect pool that was replenished heavily at the trade deadline. You have guys like Cal Steven, Charles McAdoo, obviously Adam Macko, who was acquired way back in the Teoscar Hernandez for Eric Swanson trade. But you have a lot of these prospects like Class A, like Steven, like Charles McAdoo, Jake Bloss. All of these guys were acquired at the deadline. You drafted Trey Savage in the previous draft at a very, very good value pick, one of the better ones we've seen in a while. So things are starting to look up for the Toronto Blue Jays. And if you look at Arjun Amala being the number 5 ranked prospect, his ETA is a while away, but he has as much potential as anybody in the Toronto Blue Jays system. And everyone's speaking out about it for that reason, including star shortstop Francisco Lindor. So let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on this. Do you think he's going to live up to the hype? And what your thoughts are on Francisco Lindor making the very interesting comments? Let us know what your thoughts are on that. We'll see you guys soon.